Hi friends, it's Walter from Zimstones by Walter, making this video today to walk you through how I am creating this Easter themed junk journal, specifically an Easter bunny themed junk journal for the Gingerbread Prints using the Easter Bunny Fun digital kit. I've printed out my papers, and for the junk journal part of it, I've printed out the images using this antiqued paper that I purchased on Amazon. The images are gorgeous, they're fun, and I really like the way they look on this paper. And as a bonus, there's no or very little adding of grunge that will need to happen since the paper already naturally had that. So I have my journal pages printed out. The kit also has these really cute pockets that I've printed out and envelopes that I will put together, I'll assemble and use throughout the journal. I've also printed out tags that I will put together and use throughout the journal, and some cards as well. The images are just gorgeous. I particularly love this postage stamp looking like washi strips. They're just so cute, and they're going to be fun to incorporate into the design. I have a couple of pages. There were 4 pages of fussy cuts. I chose my favorite and printed those out. So I will fussy cut those out and incorporate them. I chose this particular picture to be a main focal point within my journal that you'll see as we put it together. I thought it was really pretty with the eggs. There's no bunny here, which is kind of nice. Gives a little bit of a break from the bunny overall theme, but I thought that this lace was really pretty. Some flowers to incorporate some nature, some leaves. I loved the stucco look that's there. So overall, I thought that was a gorgeous image, and I wanted to work it into my journal. Then for my covers, I have selected, there are cover pages, both front and back cover pages that Lisa from the Gingerbread Prints included in the kit. They're really nice, but these particular images spoke to me more. So for the front cover, I'm going to be using this image of the Easter Bunny getting ready to get out there and start delivering Easter baskets and Easter eggs. And I printed out this paper from the kit onto some white glitter stock paper. I'm going to add some grunge to it. I'm going to cut an oval out of the center, and that's going to frame the Easter Bunny on the front cover. And I'm going to do something similar on the back cover. I printed out this really pretty paper onto that sparkly cardstock as well. I'm going to cut a center out of it, and I'll be using that image on the back cover. The reason why I chose to go with this white sparkle cardstock is because I had, especially for the front cover, do you remember, if you're a kid who grew up back in the 80s, 70s, which I was born in the 70s, or before that, there were those sugared Easter eggs. They were made out of sugar. There'd be a hole, and you'd look inside and you'd see a scene inside. And that was what I was going for, particularly by using this Easter egg paper, is to have that oval and kind of have that effect. So that's everything that I printed out from the kit. What I've also done is I have pre-cut some of the pieces that I'm going to need to create my kit. And we'll go over that in a little bit more detail in the next steps. But I have those cut out, some other smaller pieces I need. And I also have my magnets cut out for getting the front covers to adhere. So with that introduction, let's get started. For my journal base, I'm using, this is a 100-pound cardstock, so it's a little bit heavier. It's an ivory. You can use any color. And I wrote down the dimensions that I cut it to on here. I left the height at 8.5 by, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet, I should say. I have the height at the 8.5. I have 7 inches that I scored on each side, and that's going to be the back of it. I then gave a 1/2 inch on either side for adding in elements. And then I have 1.5 inches, 1.5 inch flaps to be used to adhere the front covers. I have a 7 by 8.5 piece of cardboard that I'm going to put over the back just to make it sturdier so that it's not going to really bend easily and to add some strength to the overall journal. For the cover over here, I have a piece of the cardstock that I've cut at 7 inches. I'm then I am big on upcycling. So I took a box from my recent coffee pod purchase. I cut that down to 7 by 8.5 by 8.5. I'm going to adhere that on top again, just to give it a little bit of extra strength. And then I'm going to end up attaching that. What I'll do is I'll attach that tab in between the two to hide it. So that will be attached there. I mentioned I had some other pieces already cut. So that's going to be the front cover that will come over like this. This is going to come over as well. But I do have a piece that I'm going to attach there. And that I have two 3.5 inch, which I'm grabbing now, 3.5 inch by the 8.5 height that I'm going to adhere there. And I'm going to do 1 and 1 going over. Again, just trying to make sure that it's strong, that it's not too flimsy. But like this particular piece, it's okay if it's not as strong. I want the back to be strong, and then I want, definitely this piece that's going to come over to be strong. And what I'll do is I'll have my magnets for closure. I'm going to do 4 and then do 4 so that when it comes over, it'll close shut. So I'm going to start with the assembly on that, and I will show you some of that as I go along. So the first thing I want to do is get this piece of cardboard laid down on the back. And so to do that, I'm going to use a combination of, let me grab my Mod Podge from over here. There's various glues you can use. I could just use like a glue, like my Barely Art glue. I'm going to use Mod Podge just to make sure that it stays sealed, but I'm going to use a combination of the Mod Podge and some double-sided adhesive tape. I like the two together because the adhesive tape gives some pretty good bond. The glue will interact with that and help out as well. And especially along the edges here where I want to make sure there's a pretty good seal. And of course the glue itself, the Mod Podge, is great at holding things down, gluing things together. It dries really quickly, which is nice, so you're not waiting too long in between steps for getting your glue to dry. So I usually just kind of do a pattern to make sure that there's going to be some extra strength there to hold something like this down. So that's what I'm going to do for the double-sided adhesive. Now for the Mod Podge, I'm just going to go ahead and take a paintbrush that I use for specifically for Mod Podge and adhering. It's an older one, and just dip in and get the Mod Podge on there, and then get that down onto the back cover. Mod Podge is on the cardboard. Now I'm just going to bring it down, align it, to be center. This should pretty much be the same size since I cut it to those dimensions. But when you're cutting anything like this, there could always be a little bit of variance. Not a huge deal. We're just going to get that down there. And like I said, I just wanted to make sure that there was a really good, strong medium to keep the back of the book pretty strong. So that piece is done. I'm now going to go ahead and get my my front cover and the other side cover adhesed down, and I'll show you how that looks. As I was gluing these pieces together and taping, using the adhesive, I was laughing to myself because I realized that I previously made up a word, adhesed. I don't know if that is a word, but I'm laughing about it because so often I'll go ahead and make up my own word. But anyway, here is the structure of what this is going to look like. So we have all of that down. What I want to do now, before I start the next step of putting like a protective covering over this, is to get my magnets down. And the easiest way to do this, I think, is I'm going to start by, I want 4 on each side just to make sure that it's going to stick, because some of this is a little thick, and then when you start to put paper on top, and these magnets are small, and you know, they're strong, they'll stick, but they're not like super strong. But it's what I have on hand to work with right now. So I'm going to choose the 4 spots where I want those to go. And since this is the part that's going to flip over, I am going to put paper over this, but I want to make sure that I have them lined up over here first. And so I'm just going to take some glue. Looks like I have a little bit of a jam in my glue bottle, so I'm just going to use a pen and open that up. And I'm just going to put some dots of glue down where I'm going to want those magnets to go. So I'm going to put one right there. I'm going to put one at the top. And then I'm going to come down about halfway and have 1 and 1. And so you put the glue down. Then I just pick them up and stick the magnet down on top of the glue so it'll dry. And once that's dry, which, you know, this sets pretty quickly, the Barely Art glue, I'll test it out. And the easiest way to get your magnets on the other side is to, once we have that there, oh, those are moving around because they're too close. So I need to move those a little further apart because they really like each other. So let me do that first. I think I'll have to put some more glue down on that particular one. Do that. We'll put that about there. And we'll glue that one down. We're going to let those dry. Okay, so those are now, they're not moving when I go to touch them like that. So even if it's not completely dry, that's fine. But what I find the easiest way is to get the other magnets adhered is once those are down, I'll put the magnet for the opposite side on top. And this is a magnetic craft mat that I have, which is why they're sticking to it so well. So once those are on top, what I do is I then take my Barely Art glue. I'll put a generous dollop there. Then I will flip that over, bring that other side down, bring it together, and just press. Something else you can do is if you have any clips, you don't want to bend that too much. Yeah, I'm not going to do a clip because that would bend it too much, I think. So I'm just going to put it there, get it the way you want it, and put a little bit of pressure. Just run a little bit of pressure up and down there to get those to adhere. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute while I get the materials ready for the next step, which is going to be wrapping some paper along the outside and inside to kind of hide the overall, the pieces of cardboard and my markings and all of that. And it's a really fun idea that, again, includes upcycling. So we'll be moving on to that in just a moment. Okay, so the magnets are set, and just to show you, That's such an easy way to just get them to line up perfectly, and it works every time. So for the next step, if you're like me, probably are, do a lot of online shopping, and you get this brown paper packaging, and I save it. I like to upcycle when I can instead of just throwing it into the trash. And what I'm going to use it for is to wrap the book, the journal, in it, so that it has an outside paper covering that can be distressed, etc. Things will be added on top of that, so people won't necessarily see this aspect of it, but there may be somewhere that it shows up, and it's just to, like, you know, cover up the rest of the cardstock and cardboard so that it's not showing. Super easy. I just cut a piece from this long strip of it that I have saved, and all I'm going to do is just, I'm actually going to start with coming over here, and I'm going to glue it down. I'm going to fold it, but what I want to do is make sure that when I put the glue and I fold it down, I'm going to fold it back, because I don't necessarily, I guess I could. You need to be careful. So if you decide you're going to put it down like that, just make sure that you do make a crease along like that when you glue it, so that it's creased, it's there. There's not going to be any tugging when that gets folded over. So I'm going to do that on each side, come up from the bottom. You're going to have to, like, I'll actually show you when I get to it, but you have to cut it at an angle then, so that you have a piece that's going to adhere up here, then you can bring your base up, etc. It just also adds some extra strength. It keeps everything together and covered. It covers up your magnets, which is a good thing. So yeah, it's really easy. I can go ahead and start it off to show you, and then I will go ahead and just work on getting this done. So I'm going to start with my Mod Podge and my paintbrush, and I have the paper lined up there, so I may as well start over here. And all I'm going to do is just brush that Mod Podge on. My brush was starting to get a little hard since it had been sitting there. Just have to get some water and run it under, rinse it in the water, and it'll spring back. Actually, just dipping it into the Mod Podge helps too, and gets those bristles flowing. So you can just come over like this. And I do want to make sure, though, that I also get up here on the side of the cardboard. And this piece will end up coming up onto the cardboard. So I'm going to get the edge of the cardboard as well. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. I like to, just to kind of make a uniform covering, so that everything is, you know, looks the same. There's nothing kind of showing through that I don't want showing through, etc. Once you have that there, then all you do is you just carefully bring that over, start to pull, and you want to go ahead and make sure that you're on that crease, getting that down, and then just little by little start to lower it into place using your fingers, or, you know, you can use your fingers. You can use, like, if you have one of these stamp presses, you can use that. It's a great use for this tool as well. I don't worry so much about wrinkles, because for me, this is going to have a vintage feel to it, and the wrinkles just add that little bit of extra bit of vintage and that extra feel and texture. So for me, I don't mind if there's wrinkles, but if you don't like wrinkles, just make sure that you're going carefully. You keep pressing, and then you just get that down. So that side is now going to be done. This doesn't matter because there's going to be folds coming up from either side. And there's going to be something put on top of this anyway. So this will all get covered up. And I'm not going to worry about that not staying down, because when I put the glue down for the image that's going here, that will help press that down as well. But it's really easy, really simple. And I was mentioning to you about the fact that you're going to have to cut at an angle when you're going to fold. All I mean by that is, I'll show you an example right here. You know, by just doing that, where that corner is. And if you were to just fold that up, you might get some sticking out, or as you see that, it's odd. So if you just cut not right up to that corner, but close to it, when you go to fold it, it's just going to be easier. So that's what I meant by doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the rest of it covered, and I will be back to you once that's done. Okay, so that is now adhered down. I'm going to set that aside to let it dry. Again, if I love that wrinkled look, most of it's not even going to come through. But if it bothers you, make sure that you just really get it down there good. But overall, it's now all wrapped together. We have a basic uniform color to work off of. And I'm going to start now with assembling some of the other pieces while this dries. Okay, while that dries, I'm going to start working on my front and back covers. I know that I'm going to use one of these images, the bunny on the front, the other one on the back. So I'm just going to cut them in half. And I don't even think there's really a need to worry about trimming the white and stuff, because you're not going to see it. So I know that my front cover is 7 inches and 8.5 inches high. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I'm going to leave that little bit of white at the top, because I'm probably going to go in with a little bit of distress ink to go ahead and add some grunge. So, and that one is right up against the corner, so we'll start with that end. Line that up. Actually, I want to do it this way in that case. So line that up at 7 inches. All those are fine. Don't throw this scrap out, because you can use it for another project, or even maybe within this journal itself. So make sure you just set that aside and you don't get rid of that. So now we know that that is the 7 inches for our front cover. We may as well do the back one, since I have the cutter out. So for this one, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to line that up on the end that doesn't need to be cut. Cut that down to 7. So now we have both of those pieces cut. So now what we need to do is, for the front cover, I know the pieces I want to use. I know that this is going to be kind of acting as a frame, if you will. Line those up, and that one seems to be, that's odd, but just a tiny bit taller, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. Not too worried about it, but you know you're going to want that about centered. And I know that I'm going to want as much of that bunny coming through as I can have. So I'm going to use my largest oval die, and this will just now help approximate where you want it placed, so that you can make sure that that cute bunny is going to come through. And so I think that I'm going to want it about there. I'm going to hold that with one finger tight, pick it up, and see, can I move that over? Nope, that's about where we're going to want it. It's not exactly centered. If that bothers you, what you can do is just measure which honestly, I can just bring this down here and measure that. Let's see, so that's starting at 5. This comes over to about 6.5, so that's 1.5 on that side. And on this side, that's at 12, and it comes down to, actually that is centered. That will be good. So it's centered on the sides. It's not centered top to bottom, but I'm fine with that because I want to put something with a title on it there. So I know that this is where I want my oval. I'm going to go ahead and grab some Post-it tape and just place that at the top, or at the bottom and at the top, so I can run this through my die cut machine. Okay, so I got the first one cut out, and that looks great. And you can adjust and play with where you know, how much you want to capture and where. I want to make sure that I have his ears in there, which is important to me. So I think that looks really cute. So I don't know if I want to pull it up or pull it over, but the idea is it doesn't have to be the exact size. You can cut it, you can move it around, and you can get as much, or you know, whatever you want. So I'm happy with that. I also went ahead and die cut the back one since I was doing the front one. And again, it's all about, I want to make sure that that beautiful vase and the birds and some of the eggs are in there. I can't have all, oh, maybe I can have all 3 birds. That will fit. And that will look good. I can actually come down a bit more to make sure that tulip's in there. So that will look really pretty as well. So the idea now is, once you're happy with where that's going to be, I'm going to go ahead and take some double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to start by putting it around the back of that egg cutout, so I can, like, you know, make sure that that is cushioned. And then I'm going to add some more tape just going around to get the frame adhered down to the picture. I'm happy with the picture the way it is. I may add a little bit of grunge, but not very much, maybe just a touch. Another thing I may do is take my brush with that grunge on there, which I have a very well-loved brush here. I may, before I go ahead and adhere that down, just put some ink on there and come around, just to add some definition and some grunge to around the frame as well. And as you can see, that starts to add just a little bit of dark around there, which helps with a nice contrast. And I think that's a nice look. So I'm going to work on getting these put together. Okay, so we have that front cover image and the frame. A little bit of grunge added onto both. I had started with some tea dye, but that wasn't really coming through as well as I would have liked, so I moved on to some vintage photo. And then on the glitter cardstock, it was a combination of vintage photo in the corners and then some antique linen more in the center and around the image itself. So I have a 8.5 by 7 piece of white cardstock trimmed that I'm going to go ahead and use some double-sided tape and glue to adhere that down. The reason why I'm doing that is I just want everything to be uniform and have like a really strong backing, one piece, not a few different pieces, going on to the cover of the journal. So I'm going to take my double-sided adhesive and get that run around the sides. And I generally will go kind of a crisscross like that. One down the center going the height, one in the center going the width. Let's get that little guy off of there. I may not even need to use any glue, but I think I will, just to be on the safe side. I always like to, I figure I'd rather have something overly full of adhesive than not enough and have it separating. especially if this is going to be a gift or if you're selling it. I feel that, if you are standing behind your creations, you want to make sure that they are as nice and as high of quality as possible. That's not to say you want to make it look store made, but certainly something like the integrity of the construction is important, at least to me. So have that. Now we can just line up the bottom and the corner and get that put down. And then you get that one at the top. There we go. So that's just going to make for a nice solid unit. That back picture of the rabbits not going anywhere. One other thing that is a nice detail is adding a little bit more grunge or distress around the edges, especially since that had just the white and it wasn't printed. So you can just take your distress pad and move it around, get some ink onto there. I love the dimension that the foam tape adds with the sugary looking paper looking in at the rabbit. And you might have noticed in the video that I put a lot of double-sided foam tape on the inside holding things down. Again, it's just to make sure that things are protected, that somebody's not going to be able to easily ruin it, that things stay stuck down. But again, that's just me. You can certainly use as much or as little as you'd like. And I just like to make sure that now there is our image for the front cover. That is all done. And I'm going to do the same thing now for the one for the back cover. Okay, so I have my front and back covers done, and the album itself is now pretty dry. So I'm putting it into a spray box that I use for spraying any kind of stains and any kind of grunge sprays that I have. For something like this, using a spray is a little bit easier because there's so much surface. And so I'm primarily going to be using two, a tea stain and a vintage mist. This one is Vignette. This one is Apricot. They're made by Brutus Monroe. They are wonderful for projects like this. I'm going to start with the lighter, the Apricot. I'm going to start on the inside first, and I'm just going to mist it, just to get some grunge on. After misting with the Apricot, I'm going to move to the Vignette. Do the same thing, just to get some color on there. I did put a paper towel down to protect surfaces, so that's good. Now, after doing the inside, I'm going to flip it. And I'm not too worried because this is mainly just for like appearance. That's not covered, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Mist it with the Apricot. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. Obviously, the Tim Holtz Distress Sprays would be awesome for this. I have those. But lately I've been working more with these ones from Brutus Monroe, and I just love them. So now that that's sprayed, I'm going to let that dry and move on to working with some other components. Okay, with the grunge kind of added on very lightly, but it's there. Before I start putting together the covers and the insides, I cut 4 half-inch strips that I want to adhere. 2 of them are going on the outside, and then 2 of them will go on the inside. And I will add some grunge to each of these, but this way they blend in with the, especially on the outside with the covers, so that those spines are blending in. And I think it's an overall really nice look. So I am going to put down some glue. just like that. And I'm also going to take my double-sided adhesive tape, put that down the strip so that we have a combination of the tape and the glue to hold those in place. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere each of these strips and add some grunge, and I'll be back once that's done. Okay, so I have those strips on, and I am going to add some grunge onto them, but before I do that, and knowing that I may have to add some more glue, I went ahead and put the glue and the tape on my front cover, and I'm lining that up to get that put on. The good thing about having the glue on is it's a little forgiving and allows for some moving around. The other thing is that I can always add some grunge around the edges to help blend things in. So that's why I wanted to get that on. I'm gonna flip that up, get that. Now I'm gonna do the back cover. And again, I can add some glue. But what I'm going to do is use my double-sided adhesive tape runner, get that going. Now I'll go ahead and get that added on to the back. That's nice and aligned and centered. Press that down. And honestly, I'm really happy with the way that these front and back covers look. They look great. I think that's a lot of fun. And I'm going to add some more grunge and add some more glue to get those spines stuck down. But overall, I am really satisfied with the look of the basics of the outside of the journal. Okay, so I'm just going to take my glue, and where I see a little bit of separation happening right along the edge there, I want to add some more glue in to get that nice, make sure there's a nice tight bond there. And I'm going to hold it in a couple of spots until I notice that it is sticking. And then once I know that that's sticking, I can then go in and kind of wipe away some of that excess. done. Now I'm just going to grab a paper towel, and I'm just going to come down the side, kind of wiping as I press. Still, though, kind of pressing to make sure that everything holds together. The great thing about the glue is that it does act pretty quickly in regards to making that bond. So now that one is all set. I'm going to check the other side of it. And actually, as you can see, that's pretty well down. There is a little bit that I'm going to add some glue in. And of course, if you keep going, it's going to just open and kind of take it in anyway, but I'm just going to press that, wipe away the excess. Don't leave it there too long because I don't want it to dry there. But that looks good. And once that glue is dry is when you can go in with the extra color to go ahead and add some more grunge and age to the spine. You want it to kind of match in with the rest of it, so you want it to look good. It looks like that has a little bit. No, that's actually good. Okay, so I'm happy with that one. Let's check this one. And as you can see, there's, this is all just the cleanup that's going to happen with any project when you have folds like this. You're going to have to go in and reinforce things. So we'll get the glue in there. I'm going to press it, come along to wipe that excess, and then hold that to get that adhered down. So I'm just going to continue doing this, and I'll be back once that is done. Okay, so that glue has all been adhered down. I'm happy with it. So now is the time to add some distress and some grunge, if you will, sorry about hitting the camera, before I start to go ahead and decorate it in more earnest. So I'm going to load my brush up with some vintage photo. Come along the side of one spine. I want to make sure I'm getting the edges of the paper too, just to have it all blend in. I'm also making sure that I try to get in there to get some of that foam tape that might be peering out of the edge. People aren't going to see the edges on the, as much as they see the main part of it, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. But I do want to make sure that I get the edges of the paper, just so that it's not a clean, clear, crisp white. And then I'm going to go around it with the ink pad anyway. Then on the inside, I'll go ahead and get that loaded and come down with it. Again, it's just, adding that effect of a little bit of age, that it's not something that's brand new. We got that done. So that's all set. So I have the front cover on, the back cover on, and we can start to move onto the inside. And for the inside, I had selected this particular image to go on the inside across the base. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that cut down to size. I know I need 7 inches. I want to get rid of the white on that side, the white on the bottom, the white on the top, and make sure that that's a nice centered image, which that will be, because I want to make sure that the eggs are all there. So I'm going to cut that down, and then we'll adhere that and add some grunge to it. Okay, so I have this burlap paper that I really like, that to add a little bit of a rustic touch, I'm going to go ahead and I cut to 7 inches by the 8.5. that I'm going to adhere down there first, and then I'm going to put this image on top once I have run some ink around the edges and kind of added some grunge onto it as well, so that that's going to be the kind of inside center of our journal. So to start, I'm going to run the adhesive and glue around this burlap paper. I like this paper a lot. I got it on Amazon, and rather than, what's nice about it is it's two sheets, thin sheets of burlap, but there is a thin plastic running between it that kind of acts like a paper, if you will, so that it's not just a piece of burlap, it's a burlap sandwich. And so it just, I think, adds some nice dimension, adds a nice rustic quality to the journal. Because in my mind, this is kind of an older journal of the Easter Bunny, if you will, that is, I think my tape runner might have given out on me there. Let's see. There we go. I got some to stick there. Gotta fix that. That doesn't always work out in my favor when I try to do that. Let's try this. No. Okay, we're gonna put that one aside and take out a different one. Get some good coverage on this to stick it down. I probably will, like with the paper, put some glue on there as well. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little to make sure that there's something to help bond it down in addition to this double-sided adhesive. Gonna add strips around the side. Make sure that's gonna stick down. That should be all set. Bring over our journal, and that had a pretty decent fit when I was measuring it up. Yes, that's a nice fit. And I think it adds just a little bit. It's another texture, which is nice, because this texture helps add some depth. And that way I'm not putting some additional like double-sided foam tape on. That's gonna work out. I can just use my tape runner and glue to get that part stuck down. And then, you know, I'm obviously not gonna add any grunge to the area where on the burlap where the picture here will be covering it. Sometimes you've got to go just a little slow to make sure you're not picking up the paper like that. And if that happens, it's okay because we're adding glue anyway. So the glue will help get that stuck down. You could also go ahead and use a paintbrush and some Mod Podge or some of the nori paste or whatever it is that you may use to get that stuck down, but I'm good with just that. Kind of centering it the best I can. There'll be about a 1/2 inch on each side. And just gluing that down. And with that done, I'm just gonna clean off the top of my glue and put the silicone cover over that so it doesn't start to dry out. I'm gonna grab the vintage photo, and I know my brush is here somewhere. I was just using it. There it is, up over here. And I'm gonna start by coming down the edge. So then that way I'm getting the edge of the paper as well as that burlap. Doesn't have to be a ton, but you know, just adding a little aging there. Gonna put some again in the corners, along the bottom with the darker. Then I'm gonna switch over and grab the antique linen, load that up pretty well, and just randomly add some on there. There we go. All right, so now that center image in the journal is in place and we will move on. Okay, so for this inside part of the cover, I decided I'm going to continue on with that burlap and cover that. And then for this panel over here, I cut a 3-inch, so that's a 7-inch by 8.5 and 11. This is a 3.5 by 8.5 and 11. I'm going to get those adhered down. For that inside panel, I really like these yellow flowers that I'm going to paste on there. Probably kind of cut just a little bit off just to kind of and make it kind of more centered at the top and bottom. But that's going to go in there, and then I'll add a little bit of some grunge to that. Then I need to decide what I'm going to do over here. What I'm thinking is that there is a pocket or something of that kind that I will use there. The other thing I could do is just use some fussy cuts and have them kind of coming down. So I'll decide that once I'm done with this side, but I'm going to get these adhered down and I'll be back. Okay, so all of that is now done. I have those side spines glued down. I don't know that adhesed is a real word. Front and back covers on. Side over here done. I will end up putting a pocket over here, but for right now that's done. Image on the back is done. I decided to put some more, to be consistent, to put some more of that burlap over here and then just a plain panel. I have an idea as to what I'm going to put there. On this inside part, I put a piece of craft paper that was cut down to size. And then I had this music paper left over. I just took a couple of pieces and just randomly put them on there with some grunge. And I know what I'm going to do there as well. So now the structure of the journal is complete. And that's really the purpose of this video, was to show you how I am making the structure of this journal. I think it's really durable. I'm putting pressure. I can't get that to move. Can't get that cover to move. That's not as durable as this side, but it doesn't have to be because you definitely want some flexibility there. The main thing is with that, all that cardboard and paper and burlap, that's not budging. So it's a really strong base for the journal. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and make my junk journal part, which is going to be composed of these printouts that I have. And then I'm going to do some fussy cutting, cut out the pockets, the cards, the envelope, and decorate the journal. So I'll be back to show you the final product. I'm going to take you on a walkthrough of my Easter Magic folio journal. It's completed, and I think it came out really nice. Have a belly band here with a nice gold circle and a little gold medallion on top of that to help keep it closed. The front cover was made with a piece of the paper from the kit, and I printed it out onto some white glitter cardstock. Then I added on some grunge. I cut an oval from it and put one of the images behind it. It's supported by double-sided foam tape to give it a little depth and some protection. Easter magic sign, that's my writing. I added some grunge onto that as well. The back cover, very similar. It is another piece of paper from the kit that I printed out onto the white glitter cardstock, added some grunge, again cut a large oval from it and put another image behind it with the double-sided tape. And on the sides I just have some strips of the white glitter cardstock with some grunge on them. Opening up the journal, on the inside front cover you have this envelope that I have in here inside of a pocket, and I have a really nice image from the kit of these yellow flowers, beautiful Easter envelope, and inside of that envelope is where I put the cards that came with the digital kit. Really cute. I love this one. This is another nice one. Lounging on the bed. Really cute bunnies. Put that envelope back. Before moving on to the inside, over on this flap, we have another pocket. I just put some torn musical paper kind of collaged back there. This paper that you see behind it is actually just upcycled shipping box paper. So, you know, when you purchase something online, they ship it to you and there's that rolled up paper, the brown paper. I save it. I like to reuse it, not see it go into a landfill. And it actually adds a really nice basic cover that you can then put things over and decorate. So this, inside of that pocket, is a beautiful trifold card. Really cute images there. And I just added some grunge onto the back. Can slip that back into that pocket. As we move to the inside on the other side, I'm just going to move my belly band. Have another pocket, and in this one is a bookmark. Really cute image of that bunny on the bed. Down here on the pocket, the girl with the bunny. Really, really cute. And then really the main star of this particular folio is the junk journal that is also inside of it. So I used the larger pockets from the kit. There's a beautiful image in the back with some Easter eggs. But this is really the main star. This is the junk journal I created. And what I did is I printed out the images on this paper that I bought on Amazon. It's a vintage paper. It's already got the grunge and everything on there, which makes it so much easier to work with. And as you can see, it prints out really nicely too. Although this image was printed out on regular cardstock and I added the grunge, you'll see the reverse side of the vintage paper when I turn the page. But I wanted to add a nice little frame around that just to go ahead and make it pop a little bit. And I just love that picture of the two bunnies dancing and kissing. So as you can see, these images print out beautifully on that paper. No additional grunge is really needed. So on the inside here, I went ahead and took some of the postage stamps from the kit, cut a couple out, and I put them behind. I thought it would look cute with this envelope. I put the envelope onto a piece of corrugated cardboard that I had added some color and grunge to, and then also added a lace border around it. Kind of rustic and vintage. And I think it goes well with that particular image. Over here, I just added in a sticker of a plant and added in a nice butterfly. this was a lot of fun. So as you saw, I had cut the ovals out of the front and I wanted to use them. So I went ahead and used the oval from the front cover and the back cover to create this little tag book. So these are the tags that were included in the kit. Beautiful. I mean, I love that of the little girl having tea with the bunny. Really such Alice in Wonderland vibes on that one. Then we have the two bunnies looking out of the window of the car. We have the Easter bunny having some Easter beverages and some Easter treats. This cute little girl who's over here again on a tag. And then two bunnies looking out. I added a little bit of grunge onto those, punched the hole, and then just put a piece of twine around them. Then to hold this in place, I just took some cardstock, put some lace over it, added a little bit of grunge, and that just slides right in, and that has a home inside of the journal then. Kind of a pseudo pocket. I love this image. So this page had the little bunny ballerina. This particular image of her was on a bookmark like this one. I went ahead and fussy cut her out, put some lace behind her, pasted her down, and then put some sequins going around. And then over on this side, I took some lace and glued it down and went ahead and added in some pearls. I think both the pearls and the sequins really go well with that particular image. Over here, I had stamped some a floral heart, and then added a banner behind, going on top of it, to go ahead and hold the little tag that says "A Bunny's Fun Day." Down below it, these beautiful Easter eggs in the grass with some flowers. This is a great image of the bunnies dancing. I wanted that image to really just be seen. I didn't want to put anything over it, really. So I added in this little wooden heart that I colored red, and then just added in a little scrap of sheet music. Here, coffee time, the two bunnies having coffee together. I just added some flowers into his hand. Over here, this beautiful image of the girl looking at the bunny in the mirror. I had her holding some flowers. Then just put a little piece of newspaper clipping down the bottom. Over here with the Easter eggs, I just added in this lilac. And I colored the leaves on the tree a little gold. Bunny is driving. I went ahead and put a little ticket there, another little bunny up in the corner. Over here, I thought that this image was really beautiful in the center. I added in these mushrooms and these leaves. I added a flower onto the end of the fan. And then I thought he was pretty handsome, so I added him in up in the corner. Over here, we have a bunny eating the carrot out in front of the house. I went ahead and just put some sheet music and a little newspaper clipping there. Giving a shout out to Boston, since that's I'm in the suburbs of Boston. I thought it was fun that this one said Boston School of Interior Decoration, so I went ahead and put that over the music paper and slapped that on there. And then I did something similar over on this sheet. Here, I wanted to kind of accentuate the bird's nest that was there. So I took some string and I just ran it along and glued it down. Then I added just a little label and a flower on top of that egg. Here I just added a little flower that I had made because I thought the image itself was just so gorgeous. I really didn't want to do much to it. These are really so cute. I added in some more of those bunny postage stamps up above. I thought that went well with the envelope. And here, she's so cute, I just wanted her to be seen. This is a great picture of the very Victorian of the bunny, the male and female bunny walking. I just went ahead and added in a little bit of these twigs with some white balls on them, just to accentuate it. I couldn't resist here. I had a pair of these wooden glasses. I went ahead and colored them black, and I think they look adorable on her. Here I just added in a flower that I had made. This is actually made out of a mold and some foam clay. So it's, it's very soft. Here I did similar to the beginning, just a piece of cardboard. This time I added on some grit paste and some color, some grunge, and I put this little guy on top of that. And then for the back cover, very similar to the front cover, bunny driving, some grunge on there, and a nice gold frame going around it. So that is my Easter Magic folio junk journal. It was made with the Easter Bunny Fun kit by the Gingerbread Prints. You can find that on Etsy. You can find it on the Ko-fi, and I'll put the links on to where you can find the Gingerbread Prints. But overall, I just thought this was a really pretty and fun project. And it really accentuates the images that are there. I purposely didn't complete everything. I didn't fill up all the pages simply because it gives something to do in the future. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Just go ahead and put them in the comments. And thanks a lot for spending some time with me. Take care. Bye.